Hello, my beautiful chosen girls, and we're here for part 2 with Jirzia Blackman, who has her own amazing business called Rhapsody Counseling and Wellness Center for a holistic approach to your transformation in your life, so you can make positive, great changes and make great choices to live the life that God created you to be. And she is a licensed clinical social worker supervisor. I hope you heard part 1. If you didn't, you've got to go listen to part 1 podcast, and then you're going to hear this one, part 2. And this is our part 2. So We're excited to be together with you today. And this time we're going to talk about 7 principles of making marriage work. And marriage is work.
Absolutely.
Hard work. And we were just talking about that too. It's work to make a marriage work. It takes work to make a marriage work.
It absolutely does.
And work to make your life work. I mean, it's not easy. And the choices that we make every day and making those decisions and choices that we decide to make to create the life and the future that God has for us.
Yes.
And we get to choose. Get to choose. So let's talk about those today. 7 principles, okay?
Yes, so let's start with principle number 1.
Okay, what is it?
Principle number 1, enhance your love maps.
Now, what is a love map?
Love maps, right? So this
I've seen, look, I have maps, Google Maps. Could I put a love map on my phone? That would be awesome.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, tell me what a love map is.
So just to preface, the 7 principles are based on Dr. John Gottman, his book, The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. So principle number 1 is enhancing your love map. So I like to use the example, I don't know if, we are all old enough to know this, but remember MapQuest?
Yes.
Where you had to print directions out, right? And so that's how, now we just put in our phones and we get to a place,
and
right?
she talks to us and tells us.
And tells us what to do. But before, you would literally see, the directions and the turn right, and which you could see that on your phone as well. But it's having this idea that my partner is forever changing and my partner is forever growing. And my job is to continue learning. I want to continue learning you. I want to know more about you. I'm not going to get to a place where I feel like we've arrived or I've learned you and that's it, you're done, right? But no, I want to continue to enhance this love that we have, this knowledge about you. I want to get to know you more. I want to be in a space of learning forever with you because you are forever evolving, right? We are forever growing. And so I want to learn you, the depth of you, your likes, your dislikes, your joys, your qualms, just your trauma, right? Things that may trigger you, things that may hurt you. I want to forever learn you. So it's putting yourself in that position with your partner and enhancing that regularly.
So important to be a constant learner. I mean, the Bible talks about growing from faith to faith and glory to glory. And so you never arrive, and we're always getting, hopefully, getting better and improving and growing and in a place of transformation. And so to think about that in terms of your marriage and the person you're married to, and continuing to learn them and learn things about them as they're changing and growing and not stop, because, all of us can be in a place, that's just the way they are. And they've always done that. That's just the way it is. And I'm just going to have to suck it up and deal with it. And you're not looking for positive change, that God can do something in their life and them changing and acknowledging that. And then your response changing.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So I think that's so important. And I'm glad. I mean, I've never heard that term, but I'm glad to hear that. And it is so true. I definitely want to work on that more, because even though we've been married 50 years, there's stuff I can learn.
Absolutely.
About my husband.
Absolutely.
And, there's things he can learn about me. And so I want to be in that place that we're growing and learning together until we die, you know? So.
And I know Pastor Rick always talks about just recalibrating, right? When he's going, I think just a few Sundays ago, he talked about how when he's using his GPS and it kind of redirects him, right? And it's recalibrating, right? Make her right. And that's how relationships should be, right? It's okay that I can nudge my partner and say, well, I used to like that color and now I like this one. I'm recalibrating you. I'm redirecting, right?
Oh, and I used to like to eat at this restaurant.
Right.
Right?
And now,
I don't
I
like
had
that.
a little bad sushi and I don't feel
Yeah.
good anymore.
No, I don't want
like
to
it
go there.
anymore.
I don't like that anymore. Yeah.
Right. And it's okay, right?
Yeah.
I can see like, okay, her world is changing, his world is changing, and I'm always learning new things about that person.
That's so good, because there is always, we want to be constant learners
Yeah.
and growers. So that's really good. Number two.
Number two is nurture your fondness and admiration. And the idea that he saw, Dr. John Gottman, is that the masters, not only did they learn, number one, right, learn their partners, but they had this fondness and this way of like admiring them, that there was this love. Like, have you ever had family members that you love them because you have to, but you don't like them, right? There's a difference between I love you and I like you, right?
True.
I love you because I kind of have to, right? But if I really like you, like I like your world, I like you, your qualms or your
like being
personality. I like being around you. And there's this fondness. Like sometimes I see couples even as they're arguing or fussing or having a conversation, and one partner just takes a look at them. It's just this fondness of them. Like I kind of like that person, right?
Wow.
And there's just a way to really nurture that. Like getting to a place where I like you. I like being in your world. I like being around you. I like spending time with you. And so there are techniques that we teach on how to nurture that, how to really go back to that space, spending time with each other. And, there are questions that you can ask and really learning your partner's world, but also, even though it's different, because most of the time, opposites attract, right? So even though it's different, how do I let you know that I like being with you and I like hearing your stories and I'm interested in you and I'm leaning towards you and really leaning in with you because I want to learn more, because I really like you.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
But it's true, because you do have those people, and that you like like you said, especially in your family, that you have to love, but you're like, I really don't like being around you.
Right? I wouldn't be your friend
I
if we weren't family.
But to think about it in that way, that you want to get to that place where you like being around them, you like doing things with them, you love sharing with them or holding their hand or just nothing. I mean, it's just little things, nothing big.
Yeah. Watching TV with them.
Yeah, a certain show or something like that you like to do, or just admiring them and what they do.
Yeah. It's like sometimes you see in like relationships where they stay together either for the children or they stay together for money or whatever that is. Then they get to a place where they realize like, okay, that factor is no longer there, right? The children have now gone to college, or, the money is no longer an issue, right? And now, like, do I actually like this person? Like, you get to a place where if they change all these things, do you actually like them? Like, do you still want to be with them?
Wow.
And sometimes there's no like there. And that's why they can feel like they're doing so many things to try to make you happy, but there's no fondness and there is no admiration there. And so regardless if you can change everything about you, but if I don't like you, that comes out.
Yeah. Wow. That's really powerful. Hadn't thought about it like much, about that in the way that you're talking about it, but it's like really powerful.
Yeah.
And especially thinking about with children leaving, or this, because it is sad that sometimes you do see this where, couples will, after the children get married or get away from home, that they'll split after so many years. And you're like, how did that happen? And it was like, that's why you have to really work on your relationship when your children are little, because we were born to cleave. I mean, and to cleave to our husband and leave our parents.
Yeah.
But we have our children, and then you wrap your whole life and everything, your whole world around your kids, instead of building and pouring into each other.
Yes.
then when they go, you're going to go, I don't even know this person,
right.
and I don't really like you.
them.
Wow, I can see how that's really important.
It's important to, and I tell couples all the time, it's not just when something's going wrong where you need to go to couples counseling, but sometimes when things are going right. And things are going well and we're happy, those are times to invest in that and really pour into that, so that you can nurture that fondness and admiration, that it's not just about the children, it's not just about our careers, because after we slow down and we're not busy anymore, I want to know that I like this person next to me.
No, and I agree with that. That would be so important. We were just talking about before actually we started the podcast about how I felt like it would be so important for anybody that's engaged, that's going to get married, to do this. I mean, because get rid of some of the baggage and the stuff that we're talking about, those disasters, those things before you actually go in the marriage would be so important to identify those things, and so important to work on those things before you get in the marriage. But then after you get married, then you continually working on your relationship, even though, we're getting along great and whatever, but you want it, because you do go through seasons in your marriage.
Absolutely.
You have this season when you get married, you don't have kids, and you have kids, that's a whole nother season. But then when they go out, that's a whole nother season. And what does that look like?
Yeah.
And could you, like you said, like each other and spend time together? So that's very important. Okay, number 3, turn towards each other instead of away.
Yes, I really like this one. So there's the study shows that we all send out bids for attention. And they can be little small bids. For example, let's say you guys are just sitting down and you're reading this article and you say, oh, wow, that's a bid for attention. So you are bidding.
You go, whoa, what'd you read?
Exactly.
Okay.
So
you're wanting a response.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so we all have this, we all send out a bid for our partner to kind of have a response. And there's several ways we can respond to a bid that kind of nurtures or does not nurture the relationship. So there are 4 ways. So we can turn towards a bid, which is a healthy response, right? Like what you said. What are you reading, right?
Oh, what's exciting? Wow? What'd you read? Yeah.
Or we can enhance a bid, which is not only am I asking what are you reading, but I'm like, oh, show me, right? So now I enhance the bid.
Yeah,
right?
I'm interested. I really, instead of acting, I'm showing more interest in what's important, or you got your attention.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the perfect response.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, let's enhance our bids, right? Or you can turn against a bid, right? So that'll be, you go, oh, wow. And you're like, oh, it's always
now
right.
What?
Right. What do you want now?
What are you looking at now?
What are you reading now?
Yeah. I don't want to see it.
I'm not interested. You're going to show me again? Right? I don't want to read.
Yeah,
read it to me.
That definitely would be pushing against the bid. Yeah.
Right. So that one, not so healthy, right? But it's actually better than the last response.
Oh dear. What is the last response?
The last response is ignoring a bid.
Oh, okay.
So our partner says, oh, wow. And you're like, I hope she does not talk to me. I'm not interested.
Interesting.
Turning away from a bid is actually the worst response.
Okay.
Yeah, or ignoring a bid.
Completely ignoring it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we want to be
completely ignored them.
Yes, exactly.
Rejected them.
Exactly. And remember, we talked in part 1 about that little boy or that little girl. So if there's abandonment issues or if any feelings of rejection in there, right away, that's triggered.
Yeah, you're right. It would be. You're right. Rejection and abandonment. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So it's important that we learn our partner's bids. Bids for attention, or even doing a little extra. So if you know your partner likes for you to throw the garbage out, or your partner likes flowers, or if your partner likes touch, their love language is touch, or words of affirmation, those are bids that you can turn towards. I know that this really makes my partner feel good, and so I'm going to touch. I hold his hand, right? Or I know that she likes flowers, so I'm going to bring flowers home, just these little bids for attention, letting them know that when you speak, the world stops and I listen.
Wow.
Right? I didn't coin that verse, but I love it, right?
It
When
is.
you speak, the world stops, I listen.
Yeah.
So I am paying attention to you. I'm paying attention to what you need, to just your little things, big things. I'm turning towards you because I want you to know that I love you, that I'm here, that I care. And
That I
when you
care.
speak, the world stops, I listen.
It's so important.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. Good. Okay. Number 4, let your partner influence you.
Now this one is hard. Now, if
She says it's hard.
Right? If we have not worked on 1, 2, and 3,
Okay.
number 4 is really hard.
Okay.
Right? If I don't know you,
Yeah.
and if I don't know your love or your inner world, then I can't trust you. Right? If I don't like you, right? If I'm not fond of you or really taking the time to get to know you, or if I don't feel that you turn towards me, right? If I don't feel that you really have my best interest, or that you make me feel loved and admired, then it's hard for me to let you influence me, right? Because there's
True.
the lack of emotional trust there.
Yeah.
And so this is so important, where it's like I have to, in order to work through conflicts, I have to know that you love me,
Right.
that you really like me, that I
care.
trust you, that
Yeah.
that I care, that
Right.
that you know that we're on the same team.
We're together.
Right?
We're doing this together.
Exactly. We're in this together.
Together.
That our issues are just like the horsemen of the apocalypse,
Yeah.
right? That's the outside influencing our marriage, but it's not you and I,
Yeah.
right? Those are external influences, and I need to know that we're on the same team,
Sure.
fighting these horsemen that are trying
Right.
to come into our
Yeah,
marriage
we're
or coming
standing
into our
together in
home,
agreement.
right?
Yeah.
And so if I don't believe that to the core of my being, I can't trust you, and I'm not going to be influenced by you.
Oh, wow.
So we work hard at doing number 1, 2, and 3, so that number 4 can just flow, where we
That would
begin
naturally, yeah.
to
flow.
let our partners influence us, to begin for, we do examples in our workshop where it's like you're in an abandoned island, or like a deserted island, and you need to take to only 3 things, right? But there's a list of 21 things, right? So how do you work together as a team to get to the 3 essential things that you need to bring on this deserted island, right? And so you both get to pick 7 or 6, I forget the exact number, but you get to pick, and then he gets to pick. But then you have to come to a conclusion to only 3. So in order to do that, you have to be able to let your partner influence you and really state your case, like, well, I think we should do this.
And why we should.
Exactly. But if we have the 4 horsemen there, then there's a critic happening, that there's contentment, and someone's yelling at somebody, and you're stupid, and we don't need that, right?
And or they're being defensive. And yeah,
Someone's being defensive, someone's stonewalling, I'm not even participating in this.
That
Right?
ain't gonna work.
Right.
You're gonna be on that desert island, and
Right.
you're sunk. It's gonna be over for you. You won't make it off the island. Okay? You are not going to survive the island.
Exactly. So that's why it's so important that we work on all that stuff so that
Yes.
number 4 can just flow.
Oh, I understand. Wow, that's important. That's really
Yes.
important. But I can see how that works together too. Very, very important. Okay, solve your solvable problems. This was interesting when I read this, because it was said 69%
Yes,
of
you-
your
you
problems
tricked it.
are unsolvable. I'm like, what?
Yes. Could you believe it? 69% of our problems are unsolvable. They are what we call perpetual issues. So these will be with us. And how they found this is that years after, they would do incrementally, like having people come in and the couples come in and kind of checking in and saying, well, how are things going? And they were finding that the couples will have the same problems. Even the masters and the disasters were having the same problems over a period of time. And what they learned is that only 69% of the problems are actually solvable, and some are perpetual. And what causes a perpetual problem is it's based on a personality trait. you can't change them, right? We can't change who we are. If I'm kind of a neat freak and I'm a bit of an A-type personality, and usually we marry the opposite person, right?
Yeah.
And so usually your partner is not so high strung about things being a certain particular way. And that's what makes you both good for each other, right? Because one is like, que sera, sera.
Yeah.
And the other one is like, no, it has to be this way, right? And the both of you together balance each other out. But what happens is usually we're fussing because I want you to be more like me.
Right.
And you want me to be more like you.
Yeah.
Which causes the conflict.
You cannot solve problems that deal with personality, because personality is the way God made you. And when a few minutes ago we were talking about, managed it, I was thinking about this message that Rick did. He's done it before about soar with your strengths. And it's you soar with the things that you're strong at, but you can never make a weakness a strength.
Yeah.
You have to manage your weaknesses.
Yes.
And he's talked about that. And there's a book called Soar with Your Strengths. So you can always I'm really good at this. And you can make it better by maybe studying or learning or practice. But a weakness you have to manage. So it'd be the same thing. It's like, if this is your personality, and it's a weakness, it's like in the personality you have, this is the way that you were just made up, then you can manage that, and you can, but you cannot make it strong, like strength. It can't be a strength. So let's just talk about some things that you can solve, some problems that are, when you say, well, what's unsolvable? Well, what's unsolvable is your personality. Right? If it's a personality trait that this person has, and an example of a certain personality trait might be,
one person is neat, one person is not. One person does well with money, one person does not. One person is A-type personality, the other person is not.
Yeah, and usually see, instead of, and you say, well, then let them come together.
Exactly.
So, right?
To balance each other out.
It's a balance, to balance each other out. And that's why you said you sometimes marry opposites, because this one, like you said, they're great at, doing the money. We'll let them do the money or whatever. Okay, so let's talk about some solvable problems.
Yes, so some solvable problems would be something like, well, my partner doesn't like to cook, right? Like my partner's person would like for the other person to cook once in a while, right?
That would be nice.
That would be nice. That's a solvable.
But I think in my case it's unrealistic.
Right, your case is probably perpetual.
Go ahead.
But it depends, right? Everyone's different in every relationship. But maybe that's something that we can kind of really work together and say, okay, well, I'm willing to do this, or I'm willing to prep.
Yeah,
or I'm willing to
together.
Be in the kitchen while you're cooking.
And I'm going to clean up.
Right.
Yeah, or
there we
something.
go.
Yeah.
So that's a solvable, right? So I'm not just stuck with doing everything.
All of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can get to a place where we can figure out, okay, let's you do this, you do that. Let's work together. Because when you don't help me, when I'm cooking all by myself and then having to do the cleanup, it makes me feel like I'm alone. It makes me feel like I'm this, right? Yeah. And then you can say, okay, well, how can I support you? Well, I would like for you to at least prep. Maybe can you cut the onions while I, do dinner? Okay. I'll help you with the onions, right?
Yeah.
And that way we're working together and we're solving our solvable problems.
That's good. Because I think especially with couples now, if they're both working and they both have jobs and they come home and if they have kids and they have all this stuff going on, and there's, well, this kid's got to be here and helping with the kids. That would be a solvable problem. Look, we've got all this stuff going on with the kids, and this one's going here and this one's going here, and then I'm expected to take them to all these places, but let's divide and conquer, right?
Yes.
And we're you do this one, you do this one, and we can work together. And because this is a lot with the kids or with the food or whatever, but working together with those things, because you're both working, you both have those responsibilities, but working together. So I can see how that works. That's good.
And what happens is it's hard for us to have that conversation, right?
To actually bring it up and talk about it.
Exactly. So we begin acting it out. I do everything around here.
You get frustrated.
No one can cook around here.
Nobody does anything. I do everything.
Exactly. I have to take the kids all over the place. You do nothing, right? And there goes the contempt. There goes the criticism, right? And then that's met with defensiveness and stonewalling, and then we have conflict.
Wow. Yep. You would have conflict.
Yep.
I can see how that's just this domino effect.
There we go.
There you go. Wow. Well, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And thanks for giving some examples too. That's really good. So number 6 is overcome Gridlock.
Yes. So when we are overcoming gridlock is where we're finding those perpetual issues,
Okay.
right? And we will call those perpetual issues gridlock because, as we said, those are personality traits.
And they
right?
happen all the time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if we're having gridlock this 69% of the time, right? 69% of our conversations is going to be, or conflicts is going to be gridlock conflicts, right?
Yeah.
So this is a personality trait, right? And what the idea is that I'm not trying to fix it, resolve it, but I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, and that is so important to say that, understand, because men like to fix.
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
They want you to give them a problem and they want to fix it.
Absolutely.
And you're like, before I've said to Rick, okay, I'm going to share this with you, but I'm not asking, I just want you to listen. I'm not asking you to solve it, and I don't want an answer. I just want you to hear me. So I've had to say that with him before, because they automatically go into this
fix it mode.
I got to fix it. Oh, this is happening. Well, I need to fix it. I can do that because they're, it's in this innate thing, I think. It's the husband, right? The provider. It's like, oh, well, I need to take care of this. And I'm going, I just want you to listen.
Yes.
I'm not looking for an answer. I just need somebody to kind of sympathize with me and hear me and go, it's okay, honey.
Yes. I do sort of like interventions that I do, which is called the stress reducing conversation, where the partner there's a listener role and a speaker role, and the listener is not allowed to fix anything. They're just allowed to be empathetic and validate, right? And just be curious and just lean in and understand a little bit more. And it's so hard for the men to do that role where they're hearing the problem, right? It's a stress reducing conversation. So the speaker is giving them the problem and how they're hurting and how it's frustrated or affected or however, and the listener can just empathize, validate, and just lean in and be curious. And it's such a hard task because we want to fix it or make them better, right?
Yeah.
But just listening and being curious and like, wow, tell me more about that.
And try to understand.
Yeah, and trying to understand. It's so hard to just do. But as the speaker, you feel so validated.
That is so true.
Yeah.
No, you do. You do. You definitely, you felt heard. You felt cared about. You feel that empathy. And sometimes you just need that.
That's all you need.
I mean, sometimes you just need that.
Yeah.
I just need you to go, it's okay.
It's all right.
It's okay.
That must be hard.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry you're experiencing
Yeah.
that.
So, and not fix it. So, guys.
Yeah.
But hey, learn to communicate with them. Like you said, it's hard to communicate with them sometimes, to tell them this is what I need. And unfortunately, you do have to tell them what you need.
I know they can't read our mind. You mean they don't read our mind?
They don't. They can't read our mind. No, unfortunately.
No, it's important that we learn how to communicate what we need. And sometimes we may not know what we need.
Right.
But that's what therapy is there. You can learn these things, right? But it's important that you begin to kind of search, well, what do I need? And sometimes if you don't know what you need, how would they know what you need?
Definitely.
Right? If you don't know what makes you happy or what makes you feel good, how would they know?
They're definitely not going to know.
They can't meet that need at all.
No.
So it's really important that we learn ourselves, male and female, that you learn yourselves, our partners, that we learn ourselves so that we can then tell our partners.
We can communicate.
That we can communicate healthy.
Very good. The last one, number 7, create shared meanings.
So this is basically the understanding that after we've done all that, we're building a house with these 7 principles, right? We have this from the foundation of enhancing our love maps, which is the first level, right? Increasing, and then we're working with communication and we're learning healthy communication styles, right? And that's in the middle of the house. And then ultimately we get to the top of the house where we're creating shared meaning. So we've done from the bottom, we've worked on our foundation, we've worked on our communication, we worked on spirituality and who we are as a person in my world and your world, and I'm learning you and you're learning me, and I actually like you and I want to spend time with you, right? And we're building on all of this, and then we get to a place where we can begin to create rituals, and we can begin to create shared meanings, that we can begin to create that we'll go on vacations or memories together, we'll begin to say, well, we'll have dinner on Sundays together as a family, and we'll sit on the table, or we'll just create these new rituals for
and
each other.
experiences
Yeah.
as a family or
Right.
as a couple. As
Correct.
A family.
And we begin to model what, we were talking about before, where it's like, it doesn't matter what our experiences were or what our past were or
Right.
what our parents experienced or the divorce or the fact
Yeah.
that they've been divorced several times.
Yeah.
Like, we can create our own rituals
build
of
our own.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can create our own memories. We can create what we want our legacies to look like.
Right.
And we can build this together as a team.
Yeah.
You and I together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow, you've given it. This is great. I know this is gonna. This has been so good for me too. It's good review and good things that I saw that pointed out. So thank you so much. I'm believing that these principles are going to help a lot of our women out there, our chosen girls, and our relationships. Right?
Yes.
That's what we want to do. Go from glory to glory and faith to faith, and living that amazing, abundant life that God has for us. So thank you so much for taking your time and sharing
Absolutely.
with us. And come on, ladies, it's not too late. It's just in time. We got plenty of time. You're not too early. You're not too late. Get signed up for Chosen 2024. Chosen Authority, okay? 20 years of Chosen. You're not going to want to miss it, and I can't wait to see you.